Welcome to our review on human characteristics. First thing we need to consider then is what we're referring to with the phrases dominant and recessive. So what we'll find is that when we carry out breeding experiments to see how characteristics are inherited, we come across the fact that some characteristics are dominant and others are recessive. So for a dominant characteristic to show, you'd only need one of the dominant alleles to be present. However, if you were to have the recessive trait showing, then you would need both of the alleles that control that characteristic to be the recessive alleles. The key trait that we're concerning ourselves with the inheritance of is whether we're male or female, so the determination of gender. So in humans we've got 23 pairs of chromosomes, and one of those 23 pairs of chromosomes controls the gender. So in females you will have 2 X chromosomes, and in males you'll have 1 X and 1 Y chromosome. Now they do like that as a question for 1 mark on your exam paper, asking you what chromosomes are present in males and females. Don't throw away the marks just by writing X singular for the female. You have to write XX, and for males make sure you remember it is an X and a Y. So do remember those chromosome combinations because it could be a nice easy mark on the exam paper. We can draw a Punnett square, which is a version of a genetic diagram, to work out what possible combinations of chromosomes we will get to determine the gender. So this is what you can see in the middle there, and what I've done is I've put the different chromosomes in different colours so you can see where they go. So you can see the mother has her 2 X chromosomes, the father made up of the X and the Y. So you can see where the X's and Y's come from in the offspring, which are the 4 boxes in the middle there. Now it's good practice to write in what the actual outcome of those combinations is. So you can see I've labelled the 2 boxes on the left as female and the 2 boxes on the right as male, because obviously females have XX, males have XY. And then finally write down the percentage chance. So in this case, in any case that we're looking at the determination of gender in humans, it will be a 50% chance of being male or female. We've got a few key terms we need to know the meanings of here. So the first one is the genotype, which quite simply refers to the genetic makeup of an individual. So we're talking genes here. The phenotype are the observable characteristics of the organism. So that would be blue eyes, for example. Heterozygous is an individual with different alleles for a characteristic. So they've got the 2 different alleles there. Hetero obviously just means different there. Homozygous is the same alleles for a characteristic. Okay, so homo means same. And then the monohybrid cross at the bottom there is where we're going to do a cross that looks at the inheritance of one characteristic. So all we can do there is take some individuals, breed them together and see what the outcome of that characteristic is. When we're looking at drawing one of these little monohybrid crosses, or one of the genetic diagrams to show inheritance, then there are 7 rules we need to bear in mind to make sure we get top marks on it. First one is we've got to show the characteristics of the parents. So write down blue eyes, brown eyes, whatever it is underneath the parent. We then have to show the alleles present in the parent cells. We need to remember to use uppercase or capital letters for the dominant alleles, and to use lowercase letters for the recessive alleles. We need to show all the combinations of alleles that will be produced at fertilization. We need to state the phenotypes of the offspring. And finally, we need to write down the percentage chance of having the relevant trait from our question. So if you follow those 7 rules, you should always get top marks on any one of these questions. There are 2 different ways that we can draw these monohybrid crosses, and the way you do it is completely down to personal choice at the end of the day. Now this one I find is possibly the more complex of the 2 to draw out, but it does set it out in a nice logical way. So we start off by writing down the parent's characteristics. So the father has 3 earlobes, the mother has the attached earlobes. Then we've got the parent's alleles. So 3 earlobes is a dominant trait, so they've got 2 capital E's there, and the attached earlobes is the recessive trait with 2 lowercase e's. We write out the gametes, and in this case the father's gametes are all going to be capital E, and we put the gametes in a circle in this case. and the mother's gametes will all be lowercase e's, and again put that in a circle. When we then work that out, the offspring's alleles will all be capital E, lowercase e, and the characteristics will be that they all have one of those dominant alleles available, so that means they will all have 3 earlobes, and they're all heterozygous in this case. So our final thing to write down is percentage, so they would have 100% 3 earlobes. The second version of our monohybrid cross I find is probably the easier of the two to do. So what we're going to do here is we draw our little Punnett square in the middle, and then we set it out the same way. So mother on the left hand side, attached earlobes, and we write down her 2 gametes next to it, both lowercase e's because the question tells us it's recessive. The father has 3 earlobes, and again in the question it will tell you that he has the 2 dominant characteristics there, so that's 2 capital E's. And then we just fill it in. The 2 at the top go into the cells beneath them, and then the 2 on the left go in the cells to the right. And again, I've done these in different colours so you can see exactly where they go. Make sure that you do label the phenotype, so the fact they're all 3 earlobes in the offspring, and then write the percentage, so 100% 3 earlobes. As I say, the way you do this is completely down to personal choice, but do make sure that you follow those 7 rules I gave you earlier to make sure you get top marks each time. But practice these. Find some questions, go through them, and draw them out, because these questions are usually worth 3 marks, so it's very valuable to practice these to make sure you do get all 3 marks there.